Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Mondays with Mindy. Hi, Mindy.
Hi, Christian.
How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. Today, we're going to have a conversation with actress, filmmaker, and author Justine Bateman. Justine started acting early and from 1982 to 1989 played Mallory Keaton on the television sitcom Family Ties, which is where we met. Simultaneously, she co-starred with Julia Roberts in the feature film Satisfaction, with Matthew Broderick in The Night We Never Met, and also with David Duchovny and Sigourney Weaver in the film The TV Set. She then went on to star in the American version of the TV comedy Men Behaving Badly, and in 2003 in Showtime's Out of Order. She had other reoccurring roles and explored doing theater in New York, but Justine wrote her feature film directorial debut, Violet, starring Justin Theroux and Olivia Munn, which premiered at the 2021 South by Southwest Film Festival. Before that, she had also wrote and directed the short film 5 Minutes. That was a selection in the Toronto Film Festival and Tribeca Film Festivals of 2018. She also adapted the teenage book series, The Click, for a Warner Brothers internet series. So she made the jump to writing and producing and directing. And as a producer, Justine helped produce the Speechless campaign in support of the Writers Guild strike in 2007, and an internet talk show with fashion maven and icon Kelly Catrone, Wake Up and Get Real. She also produced the films she wrote and directed, as I mentioned before, the short films. As an author, though, which I'm really excited to talk to her about because that's really her au courant. Justine's first book, Fame, became a bestseller and was a nonfiction work about society's need for its presence. It was published in 2018. Her second and most recent work, Face, was released in April of this year, and a documentary is going to follow. She's actually fundraising for that right now, so maybe we can help her out. Yeah. Face examines the aggressive ways that society reacts to the aging of women's faces. Justine also holds a UCLA degree in computer science and digital media management. Mother of 2, she lives in Los Angeles.
Wow, she does not really sit still, does she?
No, very prolific.
Yeah, I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, we are really excited to bring to the show Justine Bateman. Hi,
hey
Justine.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
So good to see your face. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But we start each episode. Christian and I kind of came up with this 20 random questions. I pick 5. It's just to start the conversation.
Okay.
Meaningless or deep, I don't know. We've had them both. Who cares? Justine. Oh God, do a deep dive, Mindy. Why don't you? How do you unwind or unplug?
Unwind or unplug. I guess just, not look at the news, or just not give a fuck about all the things everybody's so panicked about on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
That works for me.
Go old school, back when we weren't privy to every single thought from everybody. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm kind of embracing that. I don't know why, but especially today, that is resonating strongly. What's your favorite place in the world?
In the world?
Yeah.
Geez, that's a really hard question. I think I would generally speaking, forests. I like being in the forest, in the trees, and metaphorically, or not metaphorically speaking, but if I could pick a place sense, if it was more ambiguous, I would pick Fellini's film 8.5.
Oh, love.
There all the time.
Yeah. That's very cool.
The music, the cinematography, just that, and the feeling, the whole, if I could be in there all the time.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. I'm obsessed with that answer. Okay.
Yeah, great answer. Very creative.
If you could ask anyone, alive or dead, anything, who would it be? And what's the question?
God, I don't know. Have you guys already answered these questions yourselves? Are they repeats? the brand
No,
name.
I mean, I mean, I just pull it. So,
There's 20 randoms. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just 20 randoms. I mean, I personally, there's a couple of people, but I would hearken back.
And I'm guaranteed to get an answer.
Yeah.
Okay. I would ask a just born baby.
Yes.
What was going on before the
exit
for this moment?
Yeah. That's a really creative answer too. I like these answers.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Very out of the box.
Makes me want to ask you all 20, to be quite honest with you. Justine, whom do you admire?
I really admire, I love reading Harvard Business School case studies, or someone who was the first to this or that, without hashtags, but just like somebody who just said, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going. Like Amelia Earhart, or I don't know, Penny Marshall, who directed Big, just like, I'm going to go do this. And then it just seems so evident to me who these people are. Like, and it wasn't it wasn't after gaining permission from anyone else. It wasn't after well, as soon as we change society, I can get there. No. It was, this is where I'm going. I'm got my machete out. I'm going to carve a path through this jungle, whatever it is. I don't care. And I'm going to get there. That's my model for me, so I've always liked reading about, you read about, I don't know, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, they all started with some idea, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody, I mean, there's many, 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 many examples. I'm just saying, even the corporations that are so established now and have been for so long, even those started with
that's right,
couple of guys going, let's do this thing,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, and then how did they insert themselves into sort of the societal real estate, and now of course they have such a large piece of that, and then people like Michelle Lamy, who's just got this style, who's
oh my God,
who I'm talking about.
Of course I do. Yes,
in her own right, and had a restaurant, all this different stuff, and of course is Rick Owens' partner and wife, I believe, and muse and all that, but on her own, just her style, and I mean, and that's you just have to be willing to be completely on your own, because you're carving a new path, and regardless of the reaction. So anyway. People like that, and I endeavor to be more and more like that if I can be.
Yeah. Well, we'll circle back to this, but honestly, after reading Face, I think you're becoming one of those people who finally opens up the conversation. Obviously, the conversations have been had, but on a real true blue target level of really calling to task people's honesty about how they really feel. About aging and their biases about especially women and women aging. So we're going to get into that because I'm
right.
Yeah.
You're doing it, kiddo, is what I want to say. Jesus. I mean, it's so amazing. Okay. Last question. Justine, what scares you?
I think what scares me, and I have to I like to, obviously, as you know from reading the book, get down to my root fear, write it out, and see how irrational it is. But the one that keeps coming up for me that I have to go that one again is just it's generally speaking, a fear I won't eat everything at the buffet of life in a way. I want to, why did I get married and have kids? Well, part of it is I wanted that experience. I want to experience that level. like, what's that like? You know, and I mean, of course I love my husband and my kids, but I'm kind of like a pig about life experiences. Like, I want to know what that's going to feel like, which really serves me well as a writer director, you know, because I have a hunger to like fully, if I can't fully experience it myself, I want to find out from others, like, what's it like? Like, what was it like being in prison, or, you know, or whatever it is, or how does it feel to be in? That's why, like, I've really, really, really disliked the shutdown, because it's just like, what new experiences am I having? Like, yeah, I mean, you know, and now it's opening up. I know, but like, so much of my enjoyment of life and is being in situations that maybe I'm uncomfortable in, or everybody else is being like an intellectual snob to me or something. Like, oh, how do I navigate that? You know, what comes up in me in those situations? And to just have had a year of like almost none of those.
Well, you've seriously walked yourself right into the reason that Christian and I created this podcast, which
tell me.
I mean, truly, because the only really thing I was missing, as soon as I knew we had bright, clean air, water, groceries, I gratefully was financially okay for however long this was going to take. I think you also just defined being a creative better than anyone ever has, not just on the podcast, but for me personally, to try and express who I am and what I do, because that insatiable curiosity, that level of, you're not interesting unless you're interested, you know, plug in, men, is like been my MO, and it so fully describes to me what it feels like when I tell people what it's like to be a creative in this world, and not a business person or a teacher. All very amazing and required and needed. Yeah. But you know, you've really defined it for me. So we just missed, I get my inspiration from talking to other creatives. Mm-hmm. Really, especially just being in the business, specifically my lane. It's very subjective and up to other people whether I work or not. So how do I stay? You know, it's going to museums, fine art, reading, going to movies, like, or
even, you know, in Los Angeles,
talking to people.
Like, you're at a party, or you know, a dinner or a restaurant or at lunch or whatever, and because so many of us live in Los Angeles, like, you'll bump into people and meet people and exchange ideas and all of this, and not like, oh, we're at a black tie party. I mean, it could happen at those too, but it's the majority of them are just, you know, the majority of these like encounters and parties and whatever are like dinner parties, or you're at a restaurant. Oh, so-and-so's at that table. Oh, and then their friends, you know, work in music, and there's and to not have any of that was just like,
yeah, it was brutal. Hey,
I want to say also, like, meaning to tell you, like, I am like loving your look. I'm loving like the hair and the glasses and how your face is, and just, I'm like, when you said like, let's do this. And then I went and I was like, oh, Mindy, for sure. And then, you know, I haven't like seen you for years.
I know, decades. Like, yes, truly.
Looked at, like, you know, your account and just like pictures of you, you know, doing this podcast now. And everyone's like, I was like, oh my God, this look is awesome.
Oh, thanks, bub. Oh my gosh. It was so not thought about, which probably is the best thing for me. But thank you. You know, again, one of the reasons that I do want to just admit this, and I'm not going up your ass, had a proper weep a couple times reading the book, is because I always felt, even as a young person, oh my gosh, the best is yet to come. I still feel that way 2 weeks from my 55th birthday, double nickels. And
in the club.
Yeah. And I still feel that way. I haven't hit an age where I'm going back. And I'm also wasn't that girl that peaked in high school. So I do feel, just aesthetically, I look better. What it really is I'm just more comfortable in my skin. And that happens with age too. And so just reading some of the accounts and whom you covered was so validating for me and life affirming. I just think it's a must read. It's so fascinating. I want more men to read this book. Yes, to the women, but I mean, I think every man on the planet needs to read this book.
I've had a number of DMs from guys that are saying like, hey, just so you
what's
know,
the feedback?
Yeah, they're like, this isn't just a women's thing. You know, I feel pressure to change my face too, or, you know, there's as if there's something wrong with me unless my face is different, which is like, that's an infinite loop. You know, you're not right until your face is different. And if that is always true,
right,
you're never correct. You're never right. You're always, and that's some like psychological warfare there. You know what I mean? Trying to convince somebody that you always look wrong. So change it. And then once you change it, that's wrong too. And then that's wrong. And then that's wrong. So men saying that. And then a few men are saying, my wife of many, many years wants to get plastic surgery and have a facelift. And I don't want her to change her face. Can you imagine? Like, I love.
Well, I do. I have friends.
And then they're like, so I bought your book, hoping that she would change her mind.
Well, you know, I also felt in reading the book, I couldn't help but think of my mentors who, you know, were Geraldine Page, Jerry Page, Ruth Gordon, and Cloris Leachman, and all of whom never had work done, who by the, you know, got there, well, except for
Elaine Stritch too. Can we put her in there?
Yes, of course she is. You know that she is. Oh my God, my little angel. You know, broads, but also just the best was yet to come, not only in their personal lives, but their careers. You know, I remember Jerry saying, do we know how old I am that I'm winning my Oscar? Thank you. Just checking. You know, she was very aware, you know, of what she was. So anyway, again, I think we've sort of lost that for some reason, those kind of role models that let themselves age beautifully and naturally. And I so hope this book sort of like recalibrates everyone. I want it to do that well and be that prolific.
Yeah, I mean, it's it seems to have thrown a wrench in the works, which is good. You know, this sort of inexorable march that we were on towards, you know, fixing your face no matter what it looks like, and just, you know, to have somebody go like, raise their hand and go like, excuse me, I just wanted to ask, like, wait, why are we doing this? Like, what's in it for me? You know, and then somebody going, oh, wait, we're not sure. I don't know. It's just what we do. You know, like when you go in a store and you go, wait, why do you have this rule here on, you know, where we can stand in front of the cash register, whatever it is, right? And they're like, I don't know, that's just our policy. And you go, yeah, but it doesn't really make any sense, does it? And they're like, it's the policy.
Right. Right.
Example.
So
yeah, you know, I love this. I'm so going to bring that back. I have a question.
Yeah.
I got a question over here.
What are we doing here? Can you explain this? What's the genesis of this? Why? What's the reason? You know, it's as if there was a rule that everybody should cut off, you know, one of the toes of their left foot, and everybody's doing it. And then you go, hey, I'm going to pass. Right. And it's really just that. Like, I don't know that women understood that they can say, oh, your theory that, like, you know, an older face is will limit how far someone will go in their life. Yeah, I see that on the menu and I'm just like, nah, that's not for me. Right. I'm gonna, there's this other idea I like better on the menu, which is like we were saying, like, the best is yet to come. You know, as long as I'm alive, you know, two ages, alive or dead, right? If I'm alive, I'm going to keep doing all my stuff. Like, there's nothing that can stop me. I mean, and as we get older, I mean, that's the stuff I wish I'd known in my 20s, you know, that like,
but
you can actually go towards anything you want. Like, nothing can stop you. And if there are obstacles in the road, that's not like, you're not being stopped. You're being trained. You're being trained on this obstacle course so that once you get to the goal you're heading for, you'll be able to handle being there. If you don't let yourself get trained and you're like, well, no, this should be given to me because, you know, hashtag this or hashtag that. It's like, I don't want that. I want to be trained because once I get there, I have to be able to handle the position.
Yes.
Confidence, yeah.
Yes. Well, and also just, I mean, another reason why it's like in your 20s, you're not supposed to know. And that's why there should be no fear of getting older. I mean, with it comes so many cash and prizes that they are not talked about as much as all the other stuff, and so I want to take you, not that far back, but back. I hope you don't mind. But what was the impetus of you writing the first book, Fame? Like what?
Oh, did you read that, Mindy? Did you have a
I
chance?
didn't get, I read like the first, I'm going to say third before
listen,
this happened. So
yeah,
I wanted to know like how that came to be.
Because we were like, up there, like in the same era at the same time.
Yeah.
So just text me after. I want to hear your take on the whole thing, that whole, life cycle thing.
Okay.
So what was the genesis for writing that book?
I mean, all of us, you're writing, you're directing, you're producing, you're a certain way. What made something in you go, okay, I have this book in me and it's coming out now and here it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
that's a commitment.
For that book, I was going to UCLA at the time. I went in at 46, so I was like a freshman or a sophomore at UCLA, and I had been already kind of processing, like I said, like trying to write out my fears whenever something kind of pushes my buttons, get to the root fear of it, so I can get rid of the button. That's the ideal. I don't want to change people's behavior around me. I want to change.
Yeah.
I want to change my my ability to even hear it.
Yeah.
I just want to be sort of deaf to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have time to change everybody. Jesus Christ. I mean, anybody who's ever been in a romantic relationship has had.
Yeah. I mean, I tried in my 20s
right?
and 30s. Yeah. I tried doing that. It doesn't work.
It's
yeah.
too hard. Like I'm not interested. I don't have time. There's not enough time. So that's not my thing. But so I'd already been doing that. And then I was taking these, sociology course, and I was hearing these, I already had my theories on people's behavior, but it was interesting to be in a sociology course and hear that so many of the theories that I already had were, had names to them.
Mm-hmm. That was my major. So you're talking my language.
Oh, if I were to go back and get a master's, I think it would be in sociology. And sociology was so much more interesting than psychology. 100%. I found psychology I thought the opposite. I thought what they cover in sociology was going to be in psychology, but no. Psychology I didn't find interesting at all, but sociology, come on, so great. Oh my God, we got to talk later about like Goffman. And Renee. No,
it's seriously, I changed my life.
So I was in there, and then so I was taking notes in the margins of the books that sociology books and stuff, and I was like, all right, well that relates to fame, and that relates to fame, and then because I've been thinking like this phenomenon of fame, and not the not the chintzy sort of someone chasing it and then they're famous for 2 minutes. I mean like that, if you've ever been somewhere where Brad Pitt walks in, or you name it, like bona fide movie star, right? Or somebody who's well known, musician.
The air changes. Yeah.
The air changes. And also, talking to you, like you've experienced that, you know what I mean? Like when you would walk into a room, people, like everything in the room would change. You never had an opportunity to see that room in a normal state because your presence would change it. So I thought, what is that ephemeral thing? And so the book was like sort of an examination of that, but then also talking about the life cycle, because it's not just what happens when you're at that height of fame, but what happens when the fame starts descending, and how the charge in the room changes, and how it becomes almost a resentful, angry treatment of you, which I was like, what is that about? That's very interesting.
Will you talk more a little? Will you say that in a different way?
Sure.
What you're talking about?
So the book is about the life cycle of fame.
Right.
Fame begins, it rises up in that equilibrium, and then it descends. And some people don't. I experienced that entire life cycle. Some people don't. Like somebody like Brad Pitt comes at their equilibrium. They'll probably be at that equilibrium until the day they die. Or Tom Cruise, someone like that. So I looked at what the experience is like from the inside, and I really tried to. It's so funny. Some people are like, "Oh, it was such a." Some people don't understand that what I did was like really went back in my emotional memory and tried to write exactly how I was feeling at those different points in that life cycle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the point where my editor was like, or my not my editor, my publisher was like, we need a chapter at the end that's like where you're at now. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not at any of these stages yet. And he's like, yeah, but you're writing it so in such a visceral way that it's there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let me explain. So not only what the experience is like on the inside, but what's going on, what are my theories and sociological theories about why the audience is reacting the way they react to the famous or, becoming unfamous people at different points in those life cycle. And then it also gets into how we've democratized the seeking of fame, with social media. And what that does, unfortunately, it quantifies people's value instead of qualifying it. So now it's all about you're important or valuable, whatever, if you have this high number of followers or retweets or whatever, which is a bad way to qualify people. And you see now, if you talk to therapists that deal with teenagers and young adults, they're seeing a lot of depression and panic.
Well, yeah, you're willing to go to any lengths to get ... versus before it seemed to have an attachment to a skill, an ambition, a career, something.
And between friends, what kind of person were you? Are you somebody they can rely upon? Are you somebody who's nice to be around? You're fun, or or you're insightful, like whatever it is. And that's to qualify somebody is to use those qualities, being redundant, not to quantify somebody, by the numbers. Yeah.
So in the midst of all this, so you finish Fame and you finish Face, and I love what's happening with Face now, this whole move to actually, and by request too, by many people, this needs to be a documentary. I couldn't agree with more. I'm totally in that camp.
Yeah, that's happening. We'll be able to make an announcement about that soon. So, but also I'm doing, and I thought, well, there's so many women moved by and men moved by this book. I thought maybe I'll give Indiegogo a try to do the film of this. There's a documentary that's about the concept, right?
Okay.
But I'm also going to I was always going to do a film of this where I take 14 of these 40 or 47 stories and shoot those. So I'm trying to raise the funds over Indiegogo for that, because you've got to have money to do that. So I'm giving that a shot, and we'll see. It's very unusual to raise that much money over a crowdfunding, but I'll get it.
I think you're going to do it. Yeah, it's happening. Yeah. I just have a request that I really wanted a t-shirt, but I'm double XL. So, whatever.
I'll make it happen for you.
Thank you. Cause I need that. I mean, I'm contributing anyway, regardless of a prize.
Do it, and just make a note, Mindy.
I will.
Wherever
I definitely will.
Or just, I'll see
that
it.
Was just,
I'll make a note.
Yeah, that was just me, soliciting. Please.
It'll happen.
But seriously, it made me feel like another book that has to happen now is talk about size. But I always have that. Yeah, right. No, thanks. I always have that conversation with my fashion designer friends, some of who I've really taken to task. Totally tangential Trudy moment. Sorry about that. I just want a t-shirt. So tell me during this, if I could take you back again a little to that last, 18 months, what did you do did you binge on stuff? How did you survive?
During the shutdown?
During the shutdown.
I so did not want to be in this moment where just personally I felt, and I know people, this was not their experience or they disagree with it or whatever, which is fine. Okay. My experience with this whole shutdown is that there was a massive panic that needn't have been. I don't think panic is the answer to any situation. I don't care what the situation is. Panic, I think, is not the right move.
Yeah, well, it's like worry. People think that it's an action verb, but it isn't. Right. It's just not an action verb.
So I felt like I didn't want to be in that. And then there was and then of course we had the US election on top of that. And so, and the gasoline was being thrown on, and I don't mean this as a criticism of the press. I feel bad for the press because they can't sell things the way they used to. They can't sell their, in-depth interviews and articles and in the newspapers and the magazines. It's been that way for a long time. Yeah. And so in order to survive, they've got to chase what's trending. And sometimes what's trending becomes an Australian forest fire.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of gasoline being tossed around, if you know what I mean, about the virus and about the US election. And I was just like, oh my God, I just don't want to be here right now. I felt like not a lot of rational thinking was being, in fact, the people that were trying to speak rationally about, fill in the blank situations, were sort of shamed and pushed aside. And I was like, anyway, because I really didn't want to be in 2020, I didn't, I wound up writing 4 scripts. And I know that sounds like, wow, you're so prolific and
yes, it does.
It does.
Yes, it does.
But it was really just a coping
You are correct.
I just wanted to be in some other parallel universe where none of this is happening. And that's why. So one of the scripts I wrote was an adaptation.
Listen, your denial is a very talk about action verb, right? I mean, listen. Yeah. I cannot say.
And then all the rest of it, Mindy. Baking bread from scratch, knitting a bunch of sweaters for my friends, learning how to solve a Rubik's cube. Which it's only like 2 minutes. I know there's like other people that can do it like a small fraction of that amount of time, but all the usual things. And
I mean, listen, I was thrilled people were finding nature. I had found it a long time ago. That's, my higher power. So, I was thrilled for other people. I thought, what have you been doing your whole life that you have not found nature?
I felt that way about when people started talking about hand washing. I was like, have you not been? You like touch all these
this is a new thing?
Your hands in your mouth?
I'm sorry, but if you were raised by Ina Cohn, trust me, that skill. I mean, I have been a hand washer from way back. So yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so hilarious. Let me ask you this. Are you in the mode of author and filmmaker behind the camera, or is there, have you filled your gas tank with being in front of the camera and acting, or is that bug still there on some level?
No, it's interesting, Mindy. I mean, that was like a vocation I stepped into, it was like my 3rd job. I mean, within 4 months, I was doing that show. And so, and I was good at it.
There were many other things that followed besides that. I mean, but
as far as acting goes, I was good at it and gifted at it, I'll say, had talent for it, comes easily to me. I understand it. I think it's an incredible art form that few people focus in on to be good at. I'm just going to say, and I think more people are acting than are gifted to act. But I could say that about a lot of arenas. There's probably doctors out there that are not gifted as doctors. You know what I mean? Like when
I do.
You know how it feels to be gifted at something. For somebody it may be mathematics. For another it might be organization. Or coordinating people or whatever it is. And once you know how it feels to be gifted at something, you know when you're not, and when you know that you're not.
Okay, fair. I mean, here's why I asked. I asked because for me, one more time, the best is yet to come, right? I have yet to fulfill. I've only been able to do it, where no one sees it in acting class or with groups of friends, where I have done my version, let's say, of Misery, right? That psychotic, or that my excitement level of where to go and to be on stage 8 times a week. My ambition is still very alive and healthy in me because I have not fulfilled whatever that is. right?
I hear you.
I'm just wondering if you have any of that.
It shifted for me. I got to a point where I was like, I'll tell you what happened. I mean, I was at a point where I felt like my acting had never been better. I mean, it was really like more and more honest and terrific. But also what was happening was the digital media was exploding. This is like 2007. And I had already started, you know, I mean, I've always written, but I'd started writing scripts, and then this happened, you know, a few years prior to that. And then this happened, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I was born for. And
I love that.
Write and stuff. And so I was so excited about that. It was during the writer's strike and all this, and I was heavily involved in that. And started doing, you know, speaking on panels and everything, and like in the early days of digital media, and doing projects, doing friends, you know, conventional projects, but then I had these more complex projects I really wanted to do. Anyway, to truncate the story, at the same time, I was pitching all those to, you know, brands and studios and all of these projects I was doing, or wanted to do. I was continuing to audition, and for 5 years, like, I'm not exaggerating, for 5 years, I auditioned, like suddenly like the spigot had been turned off. I could not get an audition. I could not get a job off. When now, at the risk of sounding arrogant, like, this was highly unusual for me. It was bizarre. It was unsettling.
Yeah.
It was very strange. It was like,
I mean, obviously I've been through those periods too. Of course. I understand.
What happened, my life had to shut, or my fate, my life, whatever you want to call it, that door had to be shut hard. Otherwise I would have continued to just to act. And what was necessary was that I have 100% of my focus in the writing, producing, directing, authoring direction. And also,
thank God, because look what's happened. I mean,
so I wouldn't have put all my focus in this direction if I had continued to get acting jobs. And so when I hear that people saying, like, you know, when I hear people attribute, like, oh, I'm getting older, and, you know, and they want to get me out of this job, or I'm having a hard time finding a job or something like this. And I would say, like, could it perhaps be better news than that?
Yeah.
If you turn it around, could it perhaps be that your life is taking you in a new direction? And these are old directions or old situations that your life is done with. Perhaps, could it be, if you looked at it with a different perspective, perhaps there are opportunities that you can go for now because the timing's there. So for me, Mindy, it was so much about the timing, and it was confusing for a long time, because I'm like, I'm so, I mean, again, at risk sounding arrogant, I'm so good. Such a good fucking actress. Like, how is this happening right now? Yeah. And it was because I'm also a really good writer and director and producer and author. And I needed my head turned 100% in that direction. Yeah. So that's why. That's how it went for me. As far as my life took a turn, it'd be almost like somebody suddenly getting a lot of opportunities to go to Puerto Rico and work with orphanages. And they're just like, I don't know. This is like, my life has gone this way. And then I get there and it feels right and it feels perfect. Because I had wanted to direct since I was 19, but the timing never felt right. And I know for me creatively, if I try to do something before the timing is there, I'm just going to make like a pile of junk. It's not going to be right.
Well, junk you have not made, my friend. Can I just say? No, I am being as sincere as I can. I hope that carries across the sound waves here. I'm just so taken, especially having had the privilege of reading the work and just doing a deep dive into it. I can't wait. More and again is all I have to say. I'm so glad to have found you, and I'm so glad you have come on and graced us with your amazing presence and talent. And I simply adore you, truly. And you are a voice that needs to be loud and proud, girlfriends. Keep screaming.
Yeah, let's have lunch. You know, we talk more. And then I should come back and talk to you about on the other side of this, I have a poster for my film Violet.
I wanted to talk about that. Yes, because yes, we will definitely get into that. That was mentioned.
That whole creative process, might be interesting to your listeners too, about
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
To tell you, like, as good an actor as I thought I was, and as much as I enjoyed that, like, I enjoy like writing. Not just enjoy is the wrong word. Like, I am a writer, director, producer. Like,
well, it's a storyteller.
You know what I mean? Like, it feels almost like acting was something I did for a while, until the timing was there for me to write and direct and produce, because it's just like, I mean, I hope I'm on a set when I die. Like, I hope at
the helm.
I just want to keep, direct as many films as I can that are, in my sort of bag of tricks right now.
Yes. I'm looking forward to your first feature length.
That's it. Pilot. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Let's go. I'm ready.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, a round of applause for the very talented Justine Bateman.
Yay. Everybody should be clapping wherever they're listening.
This episode of Mondays with Mindy is brought to you in part by our sponsors, Beekman 1802 and the cocktail party, Love Mary. At Beekman 1802, we believe there's nothing more beautiful than kindness. We work hard every day to provide exceptional beauty products and cultivate moments of kindness to inspire our community of Beekman neighbors. Visit beekman1802.com or mondayswithmindy.com and discover our range of goat milk soaps, body care, and clinically proven skincare. Tired of cooking? Love fancy hors d'oeuvres but don't have any idea how to prepare? Look no further. The cocktail party, Love Mary, is here. For 15 years, New York's caterer to the stars and our pal Mary Giuliani has served her deliciously whimsical hors d'oeuvres to the best names in art, fashion, and entertainment. Now she's put them all in an adorable little box to send from her heart to your home. As Mary says, all you have to do is turn on your oven, pour yourself a drink, and enjoy more time with your guests. She'll take care of the rest. Go to marygiuliani.com or mondayswithmindy.com for more information and to order yours today.